from Bilingual Christian Academy and Technology. And today with me here at this podcast is a coach I recently met, but my God, he really impressed us. And this is Coach Black.
Yes.
Amazing for me to have you here. He's an associate coach at Ocoee High School. And not only that, but he's a head coach of Southeast Elite Regional 17 Under.
Correct.
I said it right?
Yes, you did.
Awesome. Okay, good. Coach, talk to me a little bit about your background, how you ended up doing these amazing things.
Well, I started playing basketball. I was actually 6 years old. So I've been around the game of basketball for 40 years.
Your whole life?
Grew up in Indiana. Moved to Jacksonville when I was younger. Went to high school there. Went to junior college there in Jacksonville. I didn't start coaching until late.
Oh, okay.
Because I had a job that wouldn't allow me to really get into coaching, but I've always followed the game. You know, I've been around the game. I have friends that coach.
It's in your blood.
I would support them, you know, go to watch them. And I've just always been a fan of the sport in general at all different levels. But I was around my mid to late 30s when I finally got an opportunity to start coaching high school.
How long was that?
My schedule.
I mean, I don't want to know your age.
No,
they don't want to know your
I'm
age.
going into my 9th year of coaching.
Oh my God! Amazing.
So, yeah, I've been doing it almost a decade now.
Wow.
Time really flies, but
especially when you're doing what you're passionate about.
it really is. And there's a backstory to how I got into that, which we'll get into.
Please share with us.
So it's really interesting, and it could be inspirational for some people. Once they hear the story and how I got into coaching. So we'll touch on that once we get into it. If you want to.
You see, he doesn't want to give me.
I dropped the spoiler early.
My God! He's like, not now. You wait for it. So basically, we need to go back to that story.
We definitely will.
Perfect.
That's a big part of my story.
So right now, you're coaching at Ocoee High School.
Correct.
During the day, every day of the week.
Correct.
And then on top of that, you coach for Southeast Elite Regional 17 Under.
Yes.
How is it that possible? What do you do? How do you do it?
I'm the JV head coach at Ocoee, and I'm also the associate head coach, which basically means, I'm the next guy in charge.
Your hands are full.
Yes. And then for some strange reason, I decided to take on more responsibility and decide to coach with Southeastern Elite.
It's called passion.
Yes. So this was my first year coaching the AAU/travel ball part, the Southeast Elite portion of basketball, which is totally different from high school, because with the travel ball in AAU, you don't see the kids every day.
True.
So the dynamic of the team is different. For instance, the team that I only have, I think, 2 kids that are local.
Wow.
I have everybody else that's in a different city. So we really don't even see each other until the weekends. So we don't get to practice together a lot. We maybe have a couple practices leading into.
Does that affect the performance of the team?
It absolutely can. It just depends on the type of players that you have. The chemistry can be off.
Yes.
It's hard to develop consistency.
How do you work with those areas? Because I know there are coaches that are starting recently and they could benefit from knowing from your experience. How do you deal with that kind of situation when you have a team that they don't see each other often? They need to play as a team. How do you make that happen with all that, I don't know, things going on at that age?
You have to understand what it is you're trying to accomplish. Some kids are farther along in their development than others.
True.
Sometimes it depends on the team you're coaching. That group may be a group of kids that are like really good kids that are, college prospects.
Easy to handle.
Those kids that are farther along, you don't really have to do as much with. It's more getting them organized.
Exactly.
As opposed to the kids that maybe need a little more development and coaching, where you have to spend more time with them and kind of get them to understand, the chemistry, the team concept, what you're wanting to do, as far as from a schematic standpoint as a coach. So there's a lot of different challenges based on the type of team and roster that you have.
It is fair to say that AAU travel ball is way more challenging.
It definitely is for me, because I'm very organized in the way that I approach sports. I'm very hands-on, and I like to be involved and to see the kids, once a week, twice a week. It's definitely was a new experience for me. I had to adjust. Coaching a game as a coach is pretty easy, but it's what type of result are you expecting?
Exactly.
We can go play a game and I can put guys together and we can kind of figure it out. But, if we're trying to win tournaments and we're trying to get these guys noticed and, paint them in the best light possible for them to be showcased, then it takes a level of organization and development that you don't really have the time to do with. So it's a balancing act, and that's why certain coaches are selected for these opportunities.
Definitely.
So,
not everybody can do that.
It's really difficult.
Now, just asking, I've heard many things about AAU teams. How is it? Is that something positive for a player to play on AAU and not stay put just in a basketball team at their own school or their own organizations? Because I've heard many things about AAU. I've heard that, I don't know, the ruling is not the same, that they play too much but they're not taught good skills. What is your position now that you've been doing it? Could you clarify a little bit? Not only for me, I'm the mother of a basketball player, so I would love to know. And I know that out there are many parents that would like to be more educated about that. AAU versus a regular school team.
AAU is a lot different. And as you have different organizations, there's literally hundreds almost.
Yes.
And it's about picking the right fit, doing your research. Some organizations are just really trying to collect money from parents so they can put a team together so that they can just go play.
Gotcha.
A lot of the kids on those teams aren't really high-level basketball players at this point and where they're at. An organization like where we're at, we're fortunate enough where we can be selective because we're an Adidas-sponsored organization. So, we have hundreds of kids that try out that don't make it.
So I've been there.
Yeah.
I saw.
So it's about finding the right fit for your kid based on their skill level. If they're a college level athlete, then you want to make sure if you can get them into a program where it's a sponsored level organization or they have a good reputation.
Important.
Always ask around to different coaches, high school coaches know we all know each other, so like if I hear a name of an association, I can tell you this coach does a really good job with the kids, or he doesn't really do what he should be doing with these kids. And I would just say to a parent, do their homework, and ask around, but there's levels to what you're looking for as far as a parent. If your kid's just trying to get introduced to AAU and play, there's good organizations to where they're just going to get in the door and get to play and learn.
Those developmental skills basically are learning those kind of AAU teams.
The higher level kids that are college borderline, then you want to challenge them and have them, they try out for these teams. In our organization alone, we basically have 3 teams at each level for each age group. So we have a sponsored team, which is the Adidas sponsored circuit. They're called the circuit teams.
Okay.
Those kids are all paid for. They don't pay for anything. Then we have in our organization a gold team, which is the next level.
Okay.
And then you have the regional teams, which don't travel as much, but they have a few events out of town. So they kind of place them based on their skill level and where they feel that they can best be suited. So
it could be beneficial for them, definitely, because they can develop their skills, playing with other coaches, playing with other teammates, learn new strategies, and then bring that to their actual home team, we'll call it.
Yes. That's the goal, is to create a year-round environment for these kids to develop, because every high school coach doesn't do anything year round.
True.
Like my high school, we take our team in the month of June, is usually designated for high schools. So
public schools, right?
Yes, we took our team to Kentucky for a live period this past June, and then Gainesville for another live period, which live periods are basically they're playing in front of college coaches and can potentially be offered
They get the
scholarships.
experience, they get exposure.
So a lot of high schools don't do that. It just depends on where the school is, the type of roster that they have,
And that's
who
the-
the coach is. You know, because we don't get paid as coaches. We don't get paid for any of that.
True,
So,
what you're doing is a very sacrificed job.
definitely. Yes.
I mean, I see my coaches at BCAT Sports and I see them work hard all year long. And people might be thinking that they're getting money out of it, and they're doing it out of passion, which is what we saw on you
Yes.
on that last practice that I was like, Coach, people need to get to know you. Come on, I need to talk to you.
I appreciate it.
I was impressed. I mean, the level of skills that those kids got from that practice, it was just different. The way he trained them, the patience, the details, the attention to details. I mean, for me, it was impressive.
I appreciate that.
For me, it was...
That's something that you have to have that as a coach in order to be successful. And part of your job as a coach is to develop your players. You're not
Exactly.
always going to get the kid that's already talented.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So you have to put the work in as a coach, the same way you would expect a player to put the work in, and you have to spend time in the gym. You have to sacrifice time from your family. You have to sacrifice financially. You have to sacrifice things, and you both have to get in there and work together, because the goal is, as a coach, obviously you want to win games, and as a player you want to ultimately try and get to college. So
Exactly.
it takes time, and you have to literally treat it like a job. That's what I tell my players. If you're passionate about something, you have to love it.
It is a 24 hours commitment.
You have to love it in order to get the most out of it, because if you don't love it, you're not going to put the time necessary into it to get out of it what you need.
I agree.
And that's what I tell kids.
I agree, and they have to show the same character they show in the court when they are out of that court.
Yes.
Yeah, they have to show a lot of character, and that's something that I think it's one of the hardest thing when you're working with kids that you don't see every day, to shape their character, to make them understand that the way you act and react to what's going on in the game matters.
Yes.
And the way you act and react when you're out of that game, it also matters.
It does.
So
I'll give you an example. I have a kid that's on my team now. When I first got him, he had some challenges with other areas other than shooting the ball. So basically, he wasn't a really good defender. He was kind of shy and timid as far as playing with contact and physicality. So I had to bring him off the bench. And I had a conversation with him after one game, and I asked him, I said, do you want to be known as just a shooter, or do you want to be known as a good basketball player?
exactly.
And I said, because at the end of the day, when you're playing this game, there's going to be nights where if you're just known as a shooter and that's all you want to do, you're not going to make shots. So how, as a coach, do I keep you on the court, and how do you impact winning if that's all you're able to do?
Wow.
So, I talked to his mom and his dad, and the last tournament we played in May before we took that break, that was the best 4 games he played all summer. And his parents literally, I had a text message with his mom. She said he really took that to heart. And I always told him, even when I brought him off the bench, I let him know I'd never lost confidence in you, and that was, I think, the main thing for me to reinforce that to him.
You said a key thing there. I never lost confidence
No,
in you.
you have to
pour
reinforce that.
positive
You have
things
to.
into him.
You have to.
I have problems with coaches that cannot pour positive things into their players when they're losing a game. Because they don't see that they're destroying that player, not only that game, but future games.
Yes,
also.
yes. And that's a disconnect with a lot of the old school coaches that are still around, because, I came up in a different era. Coaching was different, I don't know
What
if
would you say are some of the different systems?
it was more just the coaches back then, they were more in your face.
Right?
They were demanding, and what they said was what it was.
Exactly.
And there wasn't any, going back and forth. And now kids, I've had kids that go to 4 different schools in 4 years. Now they can just leave and go to another school.
It's unbelievable.
So now it's like, you can't even really get that out of a kid, because if they fight that coaching and they fight that discipline, they just pack up and go somewhere else. And rules back then, we could never do that.
That's the thing. Don't you think that we have been getting way more lenient to the point that we are destroying what we're supposed to be building in those players when we allow them to go from one school to another?
Absolutely.
And one team to another, just because you cannot adjust to the rules of the team?
Absolutely. We have 15, 16-year-old kids, 17-year-old kids going to 3 and 4 different high schools. To play basketball.
All over the place. Yes.
To play basketball. And I look at it like, okay, so when you grow up and get out of school and you don't like your job, are you just going to keep quitting your job and going to another job because you can't get along with your boss? It's a life lesson that I always tell my kids, like, you're going to work for somebody someday that you may not like.
Exactly.
But you have to figure out how to work together and get things done together. And that's a lesson that's not being taught enough. I've always had to fight and compete and work for everything that I've had. And now that work ethic and that fight and that competitive drive is like, it's lost.
Yeah, and that does not go along with the message of persistence.
Yes.
That does not go along with the message of, showing character, integrity. It just doesn't go along. And then you have coaches that lose their temper and they pour negatively into that kid that it's already coming from 4 different schools without good roots in it. And at some point, something's going to come out wrong. I mean,
the communication that's the key. Because if you have a good relationship with a player, you can get on them and coach them,
and they will listen.
And there may be times where you have to yell at them to get their attention.
Exactly.
But if you have a good foundation and a good relationship with a kid, then they're going to understand where you're coming from in that moment.
I agree.
Whereas if you don't have that relationship, if you're not a good communicator, if you don't get your message across the right way, and then you're just yelling at kids, and you're, for every positive that they do, you're 3 times negative. Exactly. That balance is off. It should be 3 positives for every negative is how I approach it.
I agree.
To where you got to always build them up.
Told you guys it was amazing.
So that's just my philosophy. And unfortunately, there are a lot of coaches that are stuck in the 90s, late 90s mindset, where they think you just got to yell at a kid to get their attention. And I'm a laid back guy just by nature. So I'm not a big, if I yell, my kids are like, oh, he's really mad.
They got the point.
Because I never project that way.
Gotcha.
But if you're yelling all the time, that's your norm, then the kids just tune you out.
It's like raising a kid.
But if I'm speaking in a normal voice and I'm always, relaxed and calm, and then all of a sudden I'm mad, now you've pushed me to a level that you've never seen before. So it's just the balance of controlling your emotions as an adult and just understanding, like, these are kids they're going to make mistakes, and they're going to make multiple mistakes. Yes. But the thing is, what are you doing to develop them to make sure they don't continue to make the same mistakes? And
you're developing them, but at the same time, you're modeling to them the way they should portray their image to the people that it's out there, to those scouts that might be looking for that right player for that scholarship.
Sure.
So if they're learning by modeling, what exactly are you modeling to them?
Exactly. That's
so parents, hopefully you learn something from this. Stop moving your kids from school to school because they don't get time in the court. Believe in your coach. And if you see that your coach puts more negative, it was 3 times positive for 1 negative, right? You
should be, for every negative, you should be 3 times positive. So
if you don't see that balance on your coaches, hey, that's a message. Move on, okay? Move on. Now, Coach, let me ask you. You are doing also much more than this. You're also having some kind of trainings or something like that, right, during summer?
Yes, I do. Well, it's for my high school kids. We do individual training.
So you don't even have vacations, and you
Well,
thought coaches had vacations.
I'm going to take one here
Oh,
pretty
really?
soon.
At some
But
point.
this summer, I've been going a lot more than I'm used to.
Oh, okay.
But I have a kid that we took to Kentucky and then Gainesville from my school, and he's been with me. This will be his third year. He came with us in 10th grade, and he was really raw as far as his talent. He had never really played basketball before. He's 6'6" kid.
Wow.
And he didn't play a lot last year. You know, he had a lot of things going on mentally, and he got hurt. So he's kind of floundering last year, trying to figure out, you know, where he fit in with us. This summer was the best summer he's had.
Yes.
He got interest from Stetson universities.
Yes.
And so now he's like wanting to live in the gym. So now he's motivated because he has multiple schools that reached out to us about him.
Awesome.
So now he sees that, you know, there's an opportunity there for him. So, you know, I'm sacrificing for him, allowing him to get in here and get some extra work in with me and one of my coaches that I brought on board this
But
offseason.
the feeling of knowing that he's getting that scholarship, that he's almost
Yeah, it's an opportunity.
there.
Yep.
Oh my God!
It's
How does
driving
that
him.
make you feel?
That's what we do it for.
Right.
You know, we're like I'm not being recruited. My days are long gone. You know, but you're here for
Don't
the kids.
say your days are long gone.
No. You're here for the kids, you know, to help them achieve their goals. And like I tell the parents and the kids, at the end of the day, whether you go to school or not, you know, my goal is to just help you become a better player and a better man once you leave. You know.
I need to make a parenthesis here. Coaches, we are here for the kids.
Yes.
We are here for the kids, for nothing else. And if what you're doing right now it's not for the benefit of your kids, you need to examine exactly what you're doing and why you're doing it. Remember, before you go to bed, take some time and think, what I did today was for my kids, was for them to achieve their goals, to get that scholarship. Believe me that at the end of the day, that's way more rewarding than anything else.
Absolutely.
Talking about rewarding, what would you say is the biggest accomplishment you've got so far?
I've had a few. You know, the biggest accomplishment I've had is sending kids to college.
Right?
I've sent multiple kids
Oh my
to
God.
college. But personally, for myself, I have yet to achieve that biggest accomplishment, which is winning a state championship.
Yes.
So
We're going to be praying for that, coach.
That's what still drives me personally. And I guess that's an opportunity to lead you into the story.
I want to hear that.
how I
You're
got
not
into-
leaving without telling
So
me that.
there's some backstory to that. But we'll get that. Well, I'll tell you this story about that first. So when I first got into coaching, my mindset of coaching was just about winning championships. That was my goal. It was just, I want to win. I want to do this as a coach, personal stuff. And I remember, I'll never forget, one Father's Day, one of the parents' moms texted me and she reached out to me and she said, "Happy Father's Day." You know, and I responded, I said, "Thank you. I'm not a dad, but thank you." And she said, "Well, no, you have 30 kids that look at you as a father figure."
God.
You know, and it never even dawned on me, this is why I'm really doing this. In that moment, it changed my whole mindset. Yeah, I want to win, but building these relationships with these kids and, you know, making sure they get what they need is way more important than me winning a game. And that changed my whole thought
Definitely
process.
shifted your mindset.
It changed everything, you know, and it was just a simple text that I never forgot that really changed my outlook on how I'm doing things.
And it's true. What she said is true. Because
Yes.
that's the way I see Ryan when he's coaching, and he sees that coach as a father.
Yeah.
He follows his lead. He listens, and I know players are like that.
Yes.
Oh my God, that definitely must have changed you.
It did. It really did.
So coaches back there, they are like your kids. They are like your kids. So don't do to them what you wouldn't do to your kids, okay? By the contrary, help them be successful, help them achieve their goals. Remind them every time you can that they can do it, that they just need to work harder. remind them that there's no limits, that they put their own limits, right, Coach?
Absolutely.
There's no limits. I don't know. As of now, when I was a little kid, they used to tell me that the sky was the limit.
Yes.
I don't know if you remember.
Yes.
I don't know if we're the same age. Let's leave that aside. Forget about that part. But the truth is that there's no limits. Not even the sky is the limit. Come on. We've been in this space. So why are we going to tell our kids that the sky is the limit? There's no limit.
Absolutely.
But yet, everything that you say, let me repeat it, everything you say to a kid will affect their life always, for days to come, for years to come. So make sure that the way you express yourself in front of a kid, whether you are happy or sad or mad to them, choose your words wisely. Choose them, because you can build them or destroy them.
That's right. That's right.
Build them or destroy them. What is your ideal athlete?
Somebody that's coachable, somebody that works hard, somebody that's passionate, somebody that understands they're going to fail at some point, but the willingness to get back up. I'll take a kid that's less talented but driven, as opposed to the more talented kid that doesn't have a good work ethic.
Ah, wow, that's deep.
So I'll take a kid that I can develop with the work ethic, that's has the passion, and give me that kid over the kid that's super talented but doesn't have the work ethic.
Any advice for the parents?
Hold your kid accountable.
I like that.
That's the main thing, is you have to hold your son accountable, because, or daughter, if they say that they love a sport and this is what they want to do, this is what they're passionate about, but they're not putting the effort and the work into getting better, it doesn't all fall on the coach.
I agree.
I spent every day doing something basketball related to get better when I was a kid. I would go out and shoot free throws in the rain when I was younger, in front of my house.
I see that every day,
and
Coach.
it's the coach can only get with you so many hours a day. You have to put the work, you have to lift weights, you have to train, you have to go play, you have to watch film, you got to watch basketball, you got to study just like you would for a test. Like sports is mental as well as physical. You have to understand what you want to accomplish while you're playing. You have to think the game. So many people play the game, but they don't play with a purpose. They just play and they don't understand what they're doing, what you want to accomplish while you're out there. So, I'm big on winning the mental battle, because you don't have to be the most talented player, but if you know what you're doing and you know where to be at and you know what to do, then you're going to be in the right positions to be successful. So
wow.
That's just how I look at it.
Wow, impressive. Did you take notes on that, kids? I suggest you rewind this video and you listen to that part again, coming from a coach, okay? Because usually, probably you could hear that from, I don't know, school teacher or your parents, and you will not care for it. But hey, rewind it and listen to it, okay? Coach, is there anything else we could share with this audience that's right now with us?
Yeah, I'm gonna go to my backstory.
Yes, please.
So, it was around 2013, and I was, like I said, I didn't get into coaching until I was late into my 30s. I was working a job to where I worked nights partially, so I couldn't really commit to it. And I won't get into all the details, but it's a lot. I had a really bad tragic accident that hospitalized me for months.
Wow.
To the point where I literally almost died, and I had a total of 7 surgeries over 2 years.
Wow, Coach.
And that was the low point of my life, was those 2 years. And I lost my job and couldn't work literally for 2 years. That's how bad it was. And
wow.
so long story short, I finally got on my feet. And this was 2016. My friend reached out to me and asked me if I was interested in coaching because he had got a job with Lake Mineola High School up in Claremont. That was my first high school job.
Wow.
And because I wasn't working that shift anymore, I was able to commit to coaching. But it was a lot of mental anguish, a lot of self-doubt, just to the point where I didn't think I'd even ever walk again. That's how bad it was. And while I'm in the hospital, you know, I'm putting my life in perspective because all you do is think, you know, while you're in the hospital, and you're just sitting there just like trying to evaluate your life. And I finally found my purpose.
Wow, God is good.
And it took me getting to the lowest point in my life. I had a great job, making great money. I didn't want for anything, but I wasn't fulfilled. I wasn't. I was happy, but I wasn't fulfilled. And to go through that personal stuff for 2 years and bottom out emotionally, financially, physically, and just have an epiphany in the hospital that this is my purpose.
Wow.
And then to get the message from the parent, it came full circle. My passion and my purpose now is to work with kids, be a mentor to kids. I've had kids that I've coached. I've never met their parents.
Wow.
I've never met their parents. I had a kid that parents never came to one game, never even came to senior night. I had to walk the kid across the court during senior night. You know, so it's like that's my purpose, to be there for others, you know, and try and be a positive light. None of my players even know what I went through. I've never even told this story to any of my kids.
God works in mysterious ways.
You know,
huh?
and it was like I said, just mentally, 7 surgeries. I probably spent 6 months in the hospital. You name it, it happened. And like I said, I finally realized, you know, when my buddy reached out to me, this is what I want to do. This is and I tell people now, find your purpose.
Amen.
Don't just live, but and when I tell the kids, play with a purpose, do everything in your life with a purpose, because we're here for a reason. You know, a job is a job. If you don't love it, find a purpose, find a hobby, find something that you want to do that's going to fulfill you.
About.
Because you don't want to waste your life not being fulfilled.
Of course.
And as much as I love basketball from afar, coaching and being around these kids, it just rejuvenated me and gave me a totally different perspective and outlook on life. So it took that worst thing happening for the best thing to happen. And I had to go through that.
Wow, that's wow. Never thought that you went through that. But you see, as I said before, God works in mysterious ways.
Yes, absolutely.
Because now you have had the opportunity throughout the last 10 years, basically, to impact the life of many kids, as you said.
Yeah.
That probably if you would have not been there, they would probably be, I don't know, on the wrong path.
Yeah.
Because these kids, none of them are exempt. So it only takes one of us, to take the time and do the job with them.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it. It's a blessing, you know, to be a positive influence on somebody. I had, you know, my parents were always there for me. You know, I had good coaches, good people in my life, so I was fortunate growing up.
Amen.
But a lot of these kids, you know, unfortunately, they don't have that.
Exactly.
Everybody doesn't have that fortunate upbringing, that support system. You know, there's kids I've had to feed, you know, every day that don't even have food to eat.
I know, right, Mr. Bellis? We know.
It's a blessing to be able to do that and help kids.
It is.
They'll never forget the good things that you did for them. You know.
No, and that's the reason for which we're here. We're here to serve.
Yes.
We're here to serve, not to be served, but to serve
Absolutely.
them, to guide them. Oh my God, Coach, thank you for sharing that experience with us.
You're welcome. It's my story. It literally is why I'm coaching.
And I think you need to speak it more often. Tell them.
I probably should, but
Tell them, because they will probably understand better the concept of you have a purpose in life.
Yes.
It doesn't matter how you feel, how hesitant you are. If you trust, you will fulfill your purpose.
yeah.
And if you're willing to.
Yes, that's true.
But you need to have a conversation with Ryan Velas. He went through a life-changing experience as well. So you have that homework.
Oh, I got you.
You have that homework.
I got you.
That's his story I'm not going to tell. I'm going to bring Ryan Velas, our basketball player, to actually, he's my son, by the way. I'm sorry. To talk to you guys about it. Because what I saw on your story, the way you were reborn, basically, from that experience.
Yeah.
He had his experience that changed his mindset, and that's why that switch never wants to be off again.
once you figure it out, and like I said, once you find that purpose, it changes everything.
Yes.
It changes everything.
Yes.
And it I'm closer to the end than the beginning of coaching, but it's
Don't say that.
I have an end game, but you never know. I never say never, but because I started so late, it takes a lot out of you, emotionally and physically, to coach. Just one game emotionally drains you because you put so much into it, practicing, preparing, getting ready
But
just to
it's
play
because
a
of
game.
the passion.
No, but
That's
yeah,
it.
but it drains. It's a lot. It's a lot. So, but I still love it, and as long as I love it and enjoy it, I'm gonna continue to do it.
Well, I hope to continue seeing amazing things from you. God is going to be doing great things. We're going to be praying for that championship.
I
Help me out
appreciate
there,
that.
okay?
I appreciate that.
They're going to be going with Adidas, with the East Elite Regional 17 under to
Atlanta
this
yes,
weekend,
this
right?
weekend.
Not only them, what other teams are going to be going there to Atlanta?
Pretty much
17 under, all of
our
them,
whole
right?
organization will be going.
Nice.
For the most part, I think, except for one or two teams. But most of our groups will be there. This is to be their last live period travel event of the summer.
So we'll hear back from you.
Yeah, we'll figure out how we do, and
Yes.
we'll report back to you.
Yes. Guys, if you want to contact Coach Black for any advice, for anything he can help you with, I'm going to be placing his email underneath. So make sure you copy that email and write him good things, okay? Isn't he amazing? Oh my God.
I appreciate you guys having me. It's been
It's
fun.
my pleasure to have
Thank you for
here.
having me.
Guys, remember, God is in control. If you just need to trust, okay? God has purpose in everything. So I'm gonna let you go. Thank you for being here with us, with me and Coach Black tonight. Hope to see you in our next podcast. And have a beautiful rest of the day if you're watching this during the day. Rest of the night if it's at night. But may God bless you and your family always. Remember, you're head, not tails. You're above and not below. And the best of God is yet to come to your life. Blessings, Coach.
Thank you again for having me. Appreciate it.